You've talked a little bit about how you've gotten some strange bedfellows by some of your views on Islam, for example, have resulted in people that you may not agree with that are essentially just xenophobic, sort of following you and becoming sort of part of your fan base, or whatever you'd call it. And similarly, you wrote a letter to a couple of feminists a few years ago that got in an argument with you that has been requoted pretty extensively by people in sort of the more red pill, kind of crazy men's movement crowd. How do you think about those things in terms of, I know that you don't agree with those actual views espoused there, but you know, especially in a world of social media, you start getting yourself, you know, it's hard sometimes where the tail can wag the dog over time if people...
I'm embarrassed to say I don't even remember what you're referring to in terms of the letter to feminists.
Yeah.
Was this my blog post, I'm not the sexist pig you're looking for?
Yes, exactly. That was it.
Yeah.
That was it.
Okay. Well, yeah, it's just, you can't be, if you take the time, I mean, you can't fully explain yourself and close the door to every possible misrepresentation of your utterances in every single utterance, right? So you can't condense a book into a paragraph, and you can't condense a paragraph into a single sentence every time. I mean, maybe you can occasionally do it, but it's just, if people are determined to take your words out of context in a way that is designed to mislead people as to what they actually meant in context, right? That there is no way to prevent that. And I'm just convinced that it's impossible to prevent that. And I can be much more careful than I've been in some, and I am more careful than I was in some of my earlier books now in general, because I'm less interested in writing something that's provocative and entertaining, and I'm more interested in not experiencing this deluge of misrepresentation. So I'm trying I am more careful than I used to be, but it's still impossible. I mean, and so it's not, I can't take it seriously if somebody creates some meme that completely misrepresents my view and then some Nazi nutcase likes it. I don't know what to do with that, all right?
So Richard's dealt with this with regard to the fleas and your detractors. How much attention do you pay to the people who are saying negative things about you or trying to misrepresent what you've said, and versus how much do you let your words stand on their own?
Well, Sam is absolutely right, of course, that it's extremely hard to condense a paragraph down to 144 words, whatever it is, characters. And in some cases, misunderstanding with hindsight can be understood. You can see where the misunderstanding came from. In other cases, I suspect there's a kind of active searching for the opportunity to misunderstand, active searching for offense. I think there are offense junkies who just love to be offended. I agree with Sam that we have to be careful. You can't rely upon people interpreting your words in the way that you intended them to be interpreted, and you must have to expect that quite a lot of people are going to misunderstand, in some cases possibly even deliberately misunderstand, which is sad.
This is why the principle of charity is so important. If you actually want to understand somebody's position, then you will always be interested in their efforts to clarify it, right? But what we're noticing in our discourse, politically especially, is people don't really want to understand your position. They want to catch you saying something that can be construed in the worst possible way and then hold you to it. And then they claim to understand what you think better than you do. Yeah. Right? They pretend to be mind readers.
Yeah. That's among the many things that I caution people about, is don't pretend you can read people's minds or their motivations. Even those of us who pretend to do it on stage, we're just fake and we're not as good at it. I used to toil over this, and it would, basically what I've stopped doing by means of a solution is I pretty much don't read any comments that come in on YouTube. Maybe a couple over the first day or so, just to make sure I didn't post video that didn't have audio, or, the famous "my left ear loved this" because I didn't, convert the single channel to mono. But for me, the line's really simple. I've stated my position. Somebody either didn't understand it or found fault with it. If there's fault, I'll keep going back and forth as long as somebody's making a reasonable case for what they think is wrong with it, because that's a debate. That's what I do. If I've explained it and explained it again, and now it's just getting in the way of me actually getting work done and reaching the people who already understood this and may understood the next 5 or 6 things, if it's getting in the way of me learning something from somebody else, if I'm just sitting there spinning my wheels, now it's no longer worth my time, because that person may not be reachable at all, but they're clearly not reachable by me right now, so I'm going to leave it for somebody else because I've got better things to do most of the time.